forward with our topic of discussion this morning and winding up our discussion in regards to the enhancing the competitiveness of the small and medium-sized enterprises sector in the country. Now, Mr. Jimmy Byarahanga here is still with us from Team ECOS Uganda. So what is the ECOS endgame?
Thank you, Joram. The ECOS endgame is simple. We are definitely partnering with government and choosing to support government in many of its drives. Number one will be reducing youth unemployment. We want to target at least 300 of these enterprises to be youth-led enterprises. And if they are youth-led, then we are driving the future of the nation and handing it to the young people. We can't ignore that talent. So we want to support government in reducing youth unemployment. And through our job creation drive, ECOS aims to create 3,000 new jobs through the lifetime of the project. If those 3,000 new jobs are actually created, then we realize that indeed we are holding up government's hand in reducing unemployment. Number two, the president of recent has been talking about export promotion and import substitution. So ECOS, in driving the quality agenda, the standards agenda, and the export promotion, is in support of the government drive, therefore the NDP3, Vision 2040, all these agendas that government has set up. So we are supporting government in driving its development agenda. That is the second thing. The third thing I will say is because 350 of these enterprises should be women-led. Therefore, we are supporting government in the women inclusion agenda into the enterprise development space. But finally, I also want to mention, Joram, that we have an internship component on this project. So young people who are just coming out of campus will definitely be attached to some of these SMEs to be able to tap into that experience. We are not attaching a cost to it because we believe the young person should value the experience they're going to get from this enterprise. And the SME will also be accessing inexpensive labor. So we believe that this is also a good agenda to promote, and that in fact we contribute to the green agenda. As the world is talking about climate change, and we are looking for 200 or 300 businesses that are in the green sector, we are also supporting government in pushing the climate change agenda, supporting the greening of businesses, the sustainable manufacturing practices within enterprises, waste management, recycling. Driving this agenda definitely contributes to the economic development of this country, and that is our end game.
Okay, so that is the end game. That is exactly where you want to see. And also, let's look at what is the call to action for the SMEs in the next few years in Uganda.
Maybe I should start with a call for action about ECOS.
All right.
We want to continue to mobilize SMEs all over the country to apply for this project. And allow me give out an email address for them to write, and then they will receive a response either from Brenda, from Florence, from Naomi, or even from myself. The email is ecosgizproject@gopa.de. That is ecosgizproject@gopa.de. I want to invite SMEs to apply. Those that fit within the definition we've given here, please apply, and we shall be able to screen your application, and if you qualify, we will give you support. It is sponsored support. You will not be asked for one single shilling. To the SMEs all over this country, we want to implore you not to get desperate. The times are hard, but that is business. From the very day you decided to start doing business, you chose to take a risk. All business is risk. And right now, the risks are even higher. But this is a time when you stop, look back and reflect, check out your strategies, check out your operations, revise some of the models that you've been driving, your route to market strategies. This is a time to reinvent yourself and reinvent your business so that you can stay afloat. It's not a time to despair. It's not a time to think it is all over. It is a time to appreciate that the times are just hard, but the green sky or the blue sky is ahead of us.
Okay, and I did mention something about the recovery of the SMEs in Uganda, and this is a huge topic of discussion for almost everybody here. What is the best way for us to recover I should say?
When I'm joking with my team, I normally tell them there are many ways to kill a rat.
Okay.
You can even bomb it, it will be dead.
Exactly.
But you'll have destroyed the environment. You will find out that there are never sure ways to some of these things because different businesses operate differently and in different environments. So what I normally do is call out saying if we want to recover from this, I've already mentioned here, government needs to pronounce itself.
Okay.
That is number one. We can no longer bury our heads in the sand and pretend things are not happening. We cannot come out and just speak to people and say survive. No, okay. It's not just a call to survive. We want to survive but in a meaningful way. Okay. So government needs to come out. It needs to support people. Even as the politicians are enjoying the good rights, they need to come out and also show citizens that they are concerned about them. Okay. The private sector, I continue to call out all private sector players, development partners, come out and support government, handhold, continue to pump money in training people, in building the capacity of SMEs. Because once their mindsets are changed, then business will be very unusual in this country. We will become the go-to area for anyone in the innovation and enterprise development ecosystem. Okay. But finally, I want to say, training without finance is becoming defeated. Because you train people, but then they lack the means to implement. So I'm calling out again the private sector to be able to support SMEs financially. Even as they talk access to finance, can we create pots of grants for SMEs to be able to tap into them, and with the training, with the coaching, then their businesses can stay afloat.
Okay.
Yes, Chairman.
And speaking of the interactions you've had countrywide as we're winding up with our discussions, what are some of those challenges that were greatly highlighted from these SMEs?
There are several, but the top on the list has always been access to finance. When you meet any SME, they are going to tell you, yes, I love the training. But after the training, what next? Okay. So it is important, and that's why I'm calling out the private sector. There are so many training projects, so many, Joram. But after the training, what next? You've trained me to go and innovate within the business, but even the slightest innovation will need me to have money. Okay. And I'm coming out of a season where I had to fire my staff, where I did not have money to move on. SMEs, we know they never have reserves. They never have money. They are never prepared for COVID. For them, most of Ugandans start businesses as survival enterprises. They never start businesses to outlive them. They start businesses in a survival mode. So in survival mode, you never have reserves. Many SMEs didn't have reserves, so they were beaten flat. So even as we bring in the training, the capacity building, for example, what ECOS is doing, I want to implore the private sector to come out and say we have put aside this pot. And I know that UNCDF and others have actually put some pots aside, but they are for specific sectors. I want us to go out generally and say manufacturers, green businesses, constructionists, this is money that we are setting aside for you. Come and tap into it. Let your business not go down. Yes.
Okay, and then I will believe for the small and medium-sized enterprises in Uganda, these are things that you would love to have in your discussions every other day that passes by. And lastly, Mr. Jimmy Byarhanga, 2 minutes for you to give your last remarks as we are winding up, your parting shots.
Thank you, Joram. First and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for allowing ECOS to come and make this call very public. Okay. I continue to thank our development partners. I thank the government, and I thank other players in the SME ecosystem that have come out to support SMEs. It is not a simple journey, but I believe we are sowers. We sow a seed, we water it, and we wait for it to come forth and produce fruit. This is not a one-day job. It's not a one-day journey. Yes. Over the 30 years in the past, we've seen industry associations coming up, all to support SMEs. We've seen advocacy arms come up to support SMEs. This is very important because these are the drivers of the economy, employing more than 90% of the private sector. So if they contribute so much to government, if they contribute so much to the economic development agenda, then it becomes pertinent for everyone to be concerned for them and want to support them. And that is what ECOS is here to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
And there you have it from the team lead, ECOS Uganda. It is enhancing cooperation, competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises in the country. Now, pretty much a situation when you would get to understand more about business and all that. For a sector that is actually quick to seek for recovery, that is the SME sector. A lot of questions need to be answered, and we'll be giving you all those answers, and every other detail that you want pursued, you will be getting it here on the show. I'm Joel Paul Sogo, and I've been having Jimmy Biarohanga, who is the team lead at ECOS Uganda. Well, with 9 minutes off the hour of 9 a.m., the third hour of the show, we come to a conclusion of our topic of discussion this morning. At this particular moment in time, we're heading to Mbale, where we get an update of what is happening from there. We have a correspondent who gathered some information, and of which we would love to share with you this morning.